What's up, guys? I've got a great video for you today and something that I've been wanting to bring back to the channel for quite some time now. Side-by-side scope comparisons. The main question we are answering today is how good is the glass on the Primary Arms SLX NOVA 1-6? It comes highly recommended by many of my favorite YouTubers. I've recommended it to many of my friends. On paper, it looks quite impressive. But one thing that you can never judge from a spec sheet, or even by looking through it in a gun store, is the glass quality. You got to take it out and spread its legs a little bit. You got to take it out and stretch its legs a little bit. Now, I firmly believe that the best way to judge glass quality is by comparison. So, I have two other 1-6 scopes to compare with. The old SLX Raptor, and for a more premium, albeit retro scope, the Trijicon VCOG 1-6. NOVA, Raptor, VCOG. As always, all footage was taken on the same day and under the same lighting conditions, which were mostly blue skies. Some of you may recall a video I put out last year comparing the VCOG to the Raptor, and this video showed that the glass quality really does make a difference at longer distances. So let's start with those two scopes as a control group to see if my findings hold up. As before, the shore is about 600 to 650 yards away. So looking at the two scopes side by side, a couple things stand out to me. The VCOG on the left seems to yield a sharper image. The Raptor is just a bit blurrier, almost as if it's out of focus. When you blow it up, you can really start to see how the VCOG outperforms the Raptor. Look at the shoreline, how sharp the lines are on the left compared to the right. And even when you look at the shadows and the details in the rock, compare that to the Raptor where the colors are really smeared. Here's the second thing I noticed. Look at the difference in the colors. The Raptor footage seems slightly distorted. It's odd because it's almost more vibrant. It's like an Instagram filter where the colors pop, but you can tell that they're not quite real. So those are the two things, sharpness and color, that we will be looking for when comparing the NOVA to the other two 1-6 scopes. I guess there's one more thing, which I'm not sure is really all that different. In fact, it's sort of a combination of the two. It's what they call chromatic aberrations, the blurring of colors that you see on the edge of objects. It's especially pronounced when you have a dark shape set against a light background. Look at where the trees meet the sky, and you will see this phenomenon clearly with the Raptor, but you don't really see it with the VCOG. So let's bring the NOVA in. We'll start by comparing it against the Raptor. I think a lot of the same comments we made about the VCOG Raptor comparison hold true here as well. The NOVA seems to be a little bit sharper and has less of an Instagram filtered look. And looking at the chromatic aberrations, the NOVA looks pretty good, especially compared to the Raptor. And there's a little bit more of a blown up shot. Now let's compare against the VCOG. This is, I think, a pretty close comparison. The VCOG actually looks a little bit hazy, not blurry like the Raptor, but almost like looking through a fog. The colors look true, but almost washed out. Okay, compulsive editor here. I did notice after I got home that the VCOG's lens was a bit dusty, so that probably accounts for the haze. In terms of chromatic aberrations, it does seem like the VCOG is maybe a little bit better, if I'm judging correctly. But if I had to pick which I'd rather look through, it's probably a toss-up between the two, maybe even a slight preference for the NOVA. Now, a more true test of a scope's usefulness comes from looking at people, since, well, that's kind of what these scopes are made for. So it happens that some outdoorsy types were passing through the area while I filmed, and so they can provide a helpful illustration. Legal disclaimer, yes, I live in a single-party consent state, not that you can identify these people from the footage anyway, and no, I did not point a single gun at them, just a scope mounted on an upper receiver with no barrel. If we blow the images up and put all three shots onto the same screen, well, I'll let you decide what you want to take from this. It's all a bit blurry at this distance, and blowing it up doesn't really seem to illustrate the differences all that well. So I think it's worth noting that you can certainly make out a moving person at 600 yards with all three of these scopes. For a stationary target, especially one who is hiding or wearing camouflage, it can be much harder. In fact, I have a video that addresses just how hard it can be to spot people at distances if they're not trying to be seen. I think it's one of my most interesting videos and rather underviewed in my humble opinion. So I'll put the link up here if you want to check that out. But still, I think these scopes are all potentially adequate depending on what you're trying to do. However, the Raptor is definitely on the lower end of usable at 600 yards. So to review what we've done, we've compared an old budget scope with a newer budget scope from the same shop, Primary Arms, and compared both against an older, more premium scope, the Trijicon VCOG 1-6. Why did I pick these scopes in particular? Well, they happen to be the three 1-6 scopes in my possession at the time of filming. I think my biggest takeaway is that the SLX NOVA is at least a great value for a scope. Putting aside questions of robustness, reticle options, battery life, all of which would need to be covered in a more thorough review and have been covered by other YouTubers, this video does show that the scope is reasonably capable out to 600 yards for observing and engaging targets. Combine that with true red dot bright illumination, and you have a pretty remarkable package for under $350. Now, Primary Arms did send this to me for free, so that may color my opinion, but I think I'd be willing to buy this with my own money, and in fact, I have recommended this to a number of friends who were looking for a solid budget optic. So while I have not put my money where my mouth is, I think I would be willing to if I didn't already have one, and I have been willing to put other people's money where my mouth is. I don't know. I think that's all I'll say for takeaways. I try to keep these videos short in opinions and long on helpful visuals. There's got to be a joke in there somewhere about long visuals.
Don't eat the crab dip. Yay, yay.
That's all for today, fellas. Like, comment, subscribe. You know the thing. I'll catch you later.